Apparently.
No, that was his wife who passed away, right?
No, before that. Apparently.
He's right.
Oh, really?
One of the kids was already.
He already passed away in like 2005 with cancer.
Oh, I didn't know that. Anyway, so I was just sitting there to see the amount of family you have. It was nice.
Ralph did talk about it. Here, like every Wednesday, like we have to assure. And he said, like, Baruch Hashem, I came here alone by myself, like with a very, just comfortable family. But now, Baruch Hashem, I have a lot of children and grandchildren. You know?
It's amazing to see. You guys should just go see, and you could see they sort of look like him. So it's like you'll see the kids all look pretty much alike. You could sort of see who's the bigun.
Without the microphone, because in case Ari wants to ask a question, the microphone will it doesn't work with the microphone. Yeah, there's no
this is Zoom
speakers.
Too?
It's Zoom.
I was thinking of getting a cup of tea, but Corona thing, so I don't want to use somebody else's cup, so I didn't bring it here.
Good. Thank you. So, all right, here we go. Everyone, I remind everyone where we are. We have learned Perek Aleph for the past 2 lessons, and we actually finished Perek Aleph last lesson. Okay, that's where we were. We finished Perek Aleph. I'm just going to give a quick refresher of where we're talking about. Perek Aleph is the Perek of Achashverosh. We have four characters in the Megillah. Perek Aleph is Achashverosh's chapter. That's where we meet him. Mm-hmm. And the important thing for us, really, the depth of the importance, was understanding who Achashverosh is. Achashverosh, we said, is
a genius.
Power and control. Those are the words we need. Power and control. This is Achashverosh. All the time. This is what he's thinking. This is what he's attempting to do, to consolidate rule, consolidate power. All the time. More and more. Through every way he could do, we said the master stroke was to bring Vashti to her knees, in a sense. In other words, show that he is the ruler over the realm and not the Babylonian queen who was his partner, really. We said she figured this out and therefore it didn't come. I want to just do an interesting view I had as the week went on. I was thinking about it. Just I think that we can prove a beautiful point in here in the Perek. When Achashverosh says to bring Vashti, well, maybe we'll see it here. We'll see it here in the page you guys have. The Megillah in Daf Yudbet Amud Aleph. If you can look the first source. Ariel, do you have the page? Yeah. Okay. Good. So this is part of the Megillah. The Megillah, as we said, there's no other drasha in the Gemara which is as so continuous as Megillat, as Masechet Megillah on the Megillah. There's no other Masechet that just takes a story and goes tak, 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 tak. That's one of the fabulous things about learning Masechet Megillah and learning the Megillah, is you have a Chazal right there in the Gemara. So here we have. So too, at the feast of that wicked man, Achashverosh, when the men began to converse, some said, the Median women are the most beautiful, while others said, the Persian women are the most beautiful. Achashverosh said to them, the vessel that I use, i.e. my wife, is neither Median nor Persian, but rather Chaldean, I guess, Bavli, right? Do you wish to see her? They said to him, yes.
Vessel?
That's what he says, yeah. Do you wish to see her? They said to him, yes, provided that she be naked. For we wish to see her without.
What else is the point?
One second. Let me take a caveat here for a minute. Okay, everyone, look at me for a minute. Okay, everyone here is over the age of 18, right? Okay, so I need everyone from this moment on. The Megillah, especially at this point, and from this point to chapter 2, is going to go into sexual things also. Okay, sexual. This part of the story has to do with this. I want complete.
I thought the Rabbi was alluding to like alcohol and drinking ages.
No. I'm not talking about the Megillah talks about things that are part of our world. Hey, guys, no disclaimers, no nothing. But the only thing I need is no juvenile jokes. That's what I want. Okay, I want you guys to be. I say bogrim. Bogrim is adults.
I have an actual question.
Yeah, just one second. I just want you guys having adults. So we're going to be referencing more next lesson than this lesson. Really, next lesson is going to be more powerful. But already here in this lesson about Vashti, Chazal say, this is Chazal saying, this is not some, Chazal saying that they wanted to bring her naked to the party. Now, as we know, Chazal don't say things just to
This
tell
extreme.
a story, just to tell a story, right? They mean something. Every time they say something, there is another deeper meaning. Every single thing Chazal say, please, you could quote me, okay? There is no such thing as Chazal saying something stam. Never. There is what they say, you have to understand it, understand why they said it, and then go another step and understand what they want to teach us. Very, very important. Okay? And in this case, I think I may be able to show a little bit. Okay? And you see right under this, verse 11, when the king sends, this is in our parak, right? When the king sends to bring Vashti, to bring Queen Vashti before the king, wearing a royal diadem, to display her beauty and her peoples and the officials, for she was a beautiful woman. I think Chazal listen to the pasuk and they say, what was she wearing?
Nothing.
Except
The crown.
a crown. Now, this is a reading, but now we know to understand this a little deeper.
But if
What
you
does it
look right
mean?
Before it says, "For we wish to see her without any additional adornments."
That is a perush on the Gemara. This is not what it says. They
That's
said
a
to bring
perush.
her naked. A perush means this. The English you have here is taken from Safaria, and it's the bold is what it says in the Gemara, and the not bold is their explanation of what the Gemara says. It's like a Steinsaltz or something. It's like an explanation. Yeah, Serge, quickly before I go
Yeah,
on.
very quickly. So paras in Hebrew, Persian Hebrew is paras.
Right.
Would parasi be Persian in Hebrew? Parasi.
Parsit.
Parsit.
Parsit. Okay, so what's this? What's the naked and not? So I want to say this. I want to explain. I think this is what Chazal are saying. Chazal are saying he told her to come with a royal crown and nothing else. In other words, she is actually nothing. It's mocking her. You are a queen, but you're nothing. This is what he was trying to prove. Remember, this is what we were saying. He wanted to bring her as a trophy wife. This is the way Chazal say the word trophy wife, right? This is a trophy wife is a naked lady with a crown. That's what she did. You know, she had no substance, no value. She was a queen, but only in the crown. Only in the crown. I think this is the explanation of what Chazal are trying to say here.
Only in name is she queen.
Exactly, in that sense.
She just happens to be married to him, but she belongs to him.
This is what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
The previous lesson we said it was really not that way. And it really wasn't that way. She was a very, very powerful lady. Now, after I went home and I spoke about this with my wife and trying to explain, talking about these things, she raised the question and she said, well, what did he think? Did he think she would come? What was his thought process? If he's going to bring her like this, if he's going to embarrass her in front of all of them, he didn't think she would figure this out? That was a good question, right? And I was thinking about it, and one thing I just said, that maybe this is also a key to this. He said, and this is without Chazal in a sense, he said, he told her, listen to the pasuk, to bring Vashti before the king wearing a royal diadem. That's what he told her. Come as a queen. But what he was thinking was to display her beauty to the people, for she was a beautiful woman. In other words, the crown may have been a sort of trick. In other words, come Vashti, my royal queen, my royal queen. She thinks she's coming to present Babel at this important meeting, right? This important meeting of all the nobles. But he said to them, like the Midrash was saying, oh, I'm going to bring my really, really pretty wife for you to see what a great, pretty wife I have. In other words, he sort of didn't tell her exactly the purpose of her coming. And with all this, she figures this out. She understands and she says no, and then the Megillat goes on from there. That was just like filling up the thing. And now I have another question, okay?
Or he knows her and he knows she would have come. She would have come. But regardless of that, but it's the other. It's still just the other ulterior motive. It's got nothing to do with her clothed or not clothed. That's not important.
Again, she wanted to come.
No, she would come if he had said to come like that. She would have come. But the reason she didn't come wasn't because of that. It was simply because of the ulterior motive.
That she understood.
She's not a new woman.
Right. That's the Gemara says. The Gemara says just like Shua
importance
said.
to her.
The Gemara says just like Shua. She wasn't a Tzanuah woman. She wouldn't care per se. She does care about the royal part, but she wouldn't care about how she's dressed or not undressed.
Yeah.
Okay. Chazal said like
You know, my question here is, was that a custom? A tradition? Because if there was a custom and tradition, it wouldn't be something wrong for him to say.
Well,
If the previous husbands have done that to their wives,
So
it would have been some kind of a tradition, just that she doesn't want to
actually,
accept it.
it's a great question. First of all, it's a great question, Bichlal. Do we know anything about Persia? Do we have other sources of Persia?
they have great mail system.
We actually do have other sources about Persia. I'm sorry, Herodotus.
Yes, Herodotus.
Okay, he was a Greek at
Historian.
pretty much the time, and he writes about the Persian Empire.
Right.
One of the things he writes, and I'm not going in this direction, but it's interesting, very interesting in here. I'm making it because you forced me here, Asher. But he says
Sorry.
that the Persians' custom was at official getting-togethers, they never brought their official wives. Why not? For obvious reasons. Their official wives had a mishteh nashim. This is not the case of the Megillah. This is historically speaking. They would have a party for their wives, and they would party without their wives, but not without other women. In other words, they would say they would not want their women to come to their party. And bringing Vashti over here was a mix that was not accepted. It was very not customary what was happening here, which could be why she didn't want to come, which makes the whole thing sort of interesting and tense. What is he doing here? He's breaking the lines, he's going over the custom. So there's a way to think this way and explaining the story. It's definitely acceptable. It's not the way I was going. Okay, but now I have a question for you, and this is great. And we're going to go ahead, and this is a question we're also going to ask in different parts of the Megillah. We heard the story. It makes sense. It explains the Megillah, really, the reaction of Achashverosh, why he gets so angry, why he has to bring all the important ministers, right? This was a huge event. This is a horrible event in his mind. This could break down the empire. Looking in the Megillah's eyes, did Vashti do something wrong? Did she do something heroic? Is she good? Is she bad? Is the Megillah telling us maybe something about her? Can we maybe learn from Vashti already, either good or bad, or how do we value this event? Again, we said it makes sense and it's going to lead into the next chapter. That's true.
So
I agree.
from Vashti's perspective, we discussed from Achashverosh's perspective.
No, I'm not talking about Vashti's perspective. I'm talking about the Megillah's perspective. Now, is the Megillah in some way, can we infer from the word if they are saying what Vashti did at this point was positive in our eyes?
Well, they didn't say that.
So good. So
They also didn't say negative.
they didn't say exactly. Wonderful. So it's important what Shua said. The Megillah does not say straight out that is positive or negative. It is. It happens. And it is. We don't have there's no value, right? There's no value judgment in the Megillah. But I want to open up. Do you want to say something?
Well, I was thinking that's you get from just this, really, there's not really any love between Achashverosh and Vashti.
Well, it's a power couple.
He sees her as a tool. She's clearly married to him because of his
Whatever
empire.
reason, right?
So their relationship is probably a constant power struggle.
Probably. And well, it's over now. He managed to get rid of her. Right, but that's right. We do see that. But what's the value judgment here? And you're saying it's negative in a sense. But I'm asking about Vashti's act, her defiance of the king. Is this act a positive one or negative? And Shua said it's very important to hear Shua first before I say what he said is wrong. But what Shua said was the Megillah doesn't say neither this way or this way. And I want to open up.
See, I've learned the Megillah so many years. I know all sorts of commentaries. So it's not really fair for me to comment on it. Because I know that Chazal holds her in a very negative light all of the time.
Very much so.
Everything she does,
Right.
including her party. Like the fact that
They
it
had
says
girls
7 days,
serving
but says
her.
she did it specifically
For
on
sure.
Shabbat,
Shabbat, and she had the
the
girls who were naked in front of her working on Shabbat. Exactly right. I want to go in a different way though. And I want to offer, and this I heard from Rav Yoni Grossman, who was a Rav and professor, wonderful speaker. He speaks in Hebrew as much as I know, but a fascinating man who always reads the Tanakh through the literary lens. And he says, and he could prove it, which makes it so amazing. He says, one of the most important ways of learning Tanakh, and this is a tool now I'm giving you guys to think about, it's very difficult, but I'm giving you, is to always be listening to the words of the Tanakh and what they hint to in other stories in the Tanakh.
Ooh, that's what the Baal Turim does a lot.
The who?
The Baal Turim.
Baal Turim does it straight out, right? That's right.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh,
I love
this word, it says it there too. It says it twice in the whole Tanakh, right? Here, there, and here."
Therefore,
Right.
they must be like. Therefore, this must have happened at the same time as that.
Is there a Shabbat?
Now,
or
one thing, you guys are saying it's too blunt what you said. I think the statement is like this: the Tanakh is an intricate, woven masterpiece, interconnected. That everything hints to other things, and when you get a word or a phrase that says here and says there, it's telling you you can learn, like a Gzera Shava in that sense. You could learn from that story to our story, and you could learn from our story to that story. Often, as if in chronological order, you will learn from an earlier story to a later story. In other words, there's a story that is being referenced in the Megillah. Mordechai and Esther, when they wrote the Megillah, they reference other stories and they say, this is that. Think of this story. I'm hinting to you this story, and I want you to learn from this. Okay? That's one very, very important thing. We're going to see it here. Be'ikar, already bring it out. The story of Yosef and the Megillah have unlimited amounts of parallels. Unlimited amounts. Well, you guys can start thinking yourself already. As you start thinking, I'm sure you could start thinking of parallels. Even most important being just the basic exile, Jew in exile, dealing with monarchs. This is the basic story. Is the story? There are not that many of them. Who are the other ones we know? We know Nehemiah, who is very present in the Megillah. We'll see he also is connected. Ezra is less in a political role there, but Daniel also he has a high position to the king, and we're going to see him pop up throughout the Megillah in Chazal, Daniel and Nehemiah also. But Yosef's story has an untold amount of parallels to our story, and we're going to hit the first one here that we'll see. Okay. And there's a lot to learn from Yosef and the Megillah. And the Megillah has a hidden critique of the story of Yosef. We're going to go there massively later. But there's a lot to learn. So that's one way of learning Tanakh. It's a fascinating way. You have to know a lot of Tanakh to be able to do that. To like the words, ding, ding,
That's why Rashi and the Rambam and all those people
are Mefarshim, but more so Chazal. You know, someone here asked me. Who asked me last year? I don't think it was someone here now. Asked me last week about the drush about Vashti growing a tail and being Metzora. Meule Asher asked this. So and I said I don't really know how to go there. Okay, but let me just tell you. I heard this from Yoni also. Listen to this statement. Okay, this is how Chazal. This is where Midrashim come from. So it says, this is an example. We're going to go back to our lesson in a second, just to understand the listening abilities of Chazal. So in Perek Bet, Pasuk Aleph, you guys could look. I hope you have Tanakh, right? It says, Achar advarim ha'eleh, after these things, Kishoch chamat hamelech Achashverosh, as Achashverosh's anger went down. Listen to the words. Zachar et Vashti, ve'et asher asata, and what she did, ve'asher nigzar aleha, and what was decreed upon. So he remembers three things. We're going to go to when we get to Perek Bet, we'll go into the three of them. But Asher Asata, Zacharet Vashti, he remembered her and what she did and what was decreed on her. This term, Asher Nigzar Aleha, is not a very common term.
Similar to Gezerah.
Right, similar to Gezerah. Is there anyone else we know Asher Nigzar Alav? So if you guys would mosey on to Divrei Hayamim Bet. right? A book that everyone learns. They're back and forth. I'm kidding. No one knows the Divrei Hayamim. Definitely not Divrei Hayamim Bet. So we have a fascinating story, and we'd actually mentioned it, I believe, about Uzziah who tries to go into
Which chapter?
this is chapter Kavav 26. And we talk towards the end of the chapter. Perek Kavav 26 in Divrei Hayamim Bet. You guys have Divrei Hayamim Bet is at the very, very end of the Tanakh.
Page in the Art Scrolls 1992.
Yeah, which puzzle?
So let's go to Pasuk Yud Tet, or Yud Kaf already. Yeah, Kaf. Okay, and we're talking about, just to give you the background, I believe I told you guys this story, but Uzziah, the king, tried to enter Beit HaMikdash, and the Kohanim don't allow him to come in. And they say, you can't come. Uzziah, the king, who's from Judah, he's not a Kohen, wants to bring a Ktoret, wants to bring incense. And they say, no, you can't come in. He's about to go in. And then suddenly, he gets, what does he get? Tzara. So look here, right? In Pasuk, Vayifen elav Azaryahu Kohen HaRosh. I'm reading Pasuk Kaf, right? Azaryahu, the head Kohen, looks at him. V'ineu mitzura b'mitzcho. And he is leprosy on his forehead. Vayavhiluhu misham. This is where that word should sort of jump up for us. Vayavhiluhu. V'gam hu nidchaf latzet ki nigo Hashem. And he was pushed to leave. These are terms we'll see about Haman later. But then it says, Vayi Uzziyahu HaMelech metzora ad yom moto. He was leprosy until the day of his death. Vayeshev beto chofshit metzora. He sits in the it's a sagi nahor. It's a opposite. Beta chofshit, the house of freedom, is really the house of unfreedom. Ki nigzar mibeit Hashem. Because he is what?
Banished.
Nigzar.
Decreed upon.
Well, we don't know, but that's the same word that they used for Vashti.
So then she's not dead.
Right?
He didn't
One
kill her.
second. But before, just hear Chazal. Chazal said she got leprosy. Well, leprosy is a leprosy.
That's where they get
Davar.
the tail from?
That's where we get the leprosy from. The tail, I didn't explain the tail yet.
It's one and the
I'm
same.
explaining, right. Well, it's not. No, one thing. There's two deals.
I mean, it's one and the same as far as the explanation goes. They were together.
Well, there's a machloket. One says she had leprosy, and one says she had a tail. I mean, it could go together that something happened to her, but it's two deals. It's two different opinions. But where do they get? Where they're like, what? Leprosy? What are you talking about, leprosy? They heard nigzar, and they heard nigzar, and they hear someone trying to come or not come, and not being able to come anymore, and they go, oh, okay, maybe we could connect it to the story of Uzziyahu. And now let's go into it. I'm not going to go into this now. But they're connecting these two stories, and these stories are connected to learn something. It's not just, oh, look, it says Nigzar, it says Nigzar. Hey, it's the Yofi. No. They say there's something to learn here from this. And they're saying to you, in other words, go learn that story and try to understand from there something to our story. Okay, so I'm not going to do this on this example. I just want to you guys understand the brilliance of Chazal. Okay, the brilliance. Never look at a midrash and go, huh? What are they talking about? They must be silly. They must not understand. They must be childish. Many times you see midrash and you're like, what in the world are they talking about? It's never on that level.
They're trying to make it fun for the kiddos.
Right. Well, no, they're not trying to make it fun for the
Is
kiddos.
there another parallel pasuk for the midrash of tail?
So we could think it says about Amalek, Vayizanev, Pecha, Kol HaNechashalim. Vayizanev is they tailed you. Maybe bringing Amalek into the story already. That's about Amalek, that pasuk. Maybe. Right. We're going to be on that pasuk for a long time. But maybe already there. Maybe what we talked about, the dog, right? The dog, the shegel, the pileges, right? But I'm not going into that. I want to go into, yes, the connection to Yosef. Okay. Now, again, I'm going back to my previous question. Is there a judgment of Vashti's act? Is the Megillah going in any way? Does it show us if it was positive or negative what Vashti was doing?
Want to equate it to Yosef? Yes.
Yes, what?
yes, there's a positive one.
So let's take a look.
And if you don't want to equate it to yourself, then no.
Well, let's take a look. So I mean,
It's up to
Overall,
you.
I think it's just the
We
ways
have to
of
start
being
somewhere. And I guess we're
modest.
starting
Being
positive.
not modest is one thing I see here.
that's negative. In other words, what's happening
it's
here.
negative, which is against Judaism.
So let's take a look here. Let's take a look here, and I think we'll be able to see through the psukim that the Megillah gives a very positive judgment of Vashti's act. Not only is it positive, it is actually almost parallel to someone else who's not going to do what the king's commanded
Esther.
and suffers as a consequence. Not Esther, Dafka, Mordechai. But let's take a look here first, okay? First of all, let's just start. It says when he calls her, it says Vatima'en hamalka vashti lavo. Vatima'en hamalka. Vatima'en is a word that is not so common. Vatima'en means she didn't agree. Give me a better word.
She refused.
She refused. Thank you. Vatima'en, she refused to come. Does anybody else we know refuse in this way? So
Yeah,
everyone,
yes.
where?
When Potiphar's wife tried
Very
to
good.
put herself upon him.
Me'ule. When Potiphar's wife tries to bring him to her,
If we
it
really want to
says-
get into Chazal, it wasn't Potiphar.
it says
It's Potiphar. Is that Chazal that? No?
that what?
Does the Rav doesn't know?
I don't know what you're saying. Maybe I know what
There's
you're talking about.
Chazal that says Potiphar is Potiphar.
Potiphar, that they say later that he married the daughter.
That it wasn't his master's wife, it was his master.
Oh, I don't know this one.
No?
No. Eshet Potiphar. How did they get to that? I don't know. I'm not going to say about Chazal, but I don't know that. But it seems that let's keep it as we are right now. Okay, and you have it here. You have the two psukim here. It says Vatima'en amalka vashti lavo bidvar hamelech asher biyad hasavisim. And the story of Yosef, it says Vayima'en. But he refused. He said to his master's wife, "Look, with me here, my master gives no thought to anything in the house, and all that he owns, he has placed in my hands." And then what does he do?
Also
Look what
says he
happens.
saw the face of his father.
That's we're gonna get to that at some point too. And he says like this: she caught hold of him by his garment and said, "Lie with me." But he left his garment in hand and got away and fled outside. In other words, was he?
Not close.
He's not clothed.
Garmentless.
Just like
Vashti.
Vashti is garmentless. So right, it's exactly so we're. Whoa, okay, what's going on here?
Okay.
They're equating her with Yosef. Yosef's act of saying no, of refusal, is seen as Chazal's like the epitome of tzadikut.
The thing
This
is, there's a small difference is that Vashti was essentially smitten for
Yosef.
for a refusal.
Was
Vashti was stricken with Saras,
with leprosy.
with leprosy. Why was she
And
stricken with leprosy when she was doing the one time she's being modest, she's being stricken with leprosy? It's a humongous irony.
Right, I hear what you're saying. I'm not going in the leprosy path at the moment. Even though we just talked about the leprosy
I'm
path.
sorry.
We're not. Again, I said I'm choosing my path. I'm choosing my path here within
This falls along
Chazal.
the lines of why do the righteous suffer? Heroism doesn't have to always be in the context
Of
of
a good happy end.
awards, and yeah,
And it doesn't have a happy end necessarily.
Yeah,
Both two. Let's bring this back. In two cases here, like I'm gonna try to extract this into the greater picture. In two cases here, the leader, the power, the person in power attempts to subjugate someone else and force him or her to his will in this case, and both of them refuse. Okay, both of them saying, "No, I am not going to do this. I am not going to be drawn into your attempt to usurp power, to use your power incorrectly." Vashti Achashverosh says, "No, the Timaen, I will not accept your using your power to do something immoral, or in a sense,
She doesn't care. She just
She
doesn't
does-
want him to be subjugating her.
no, she doesn't want to subjugate Bavel. No. He's using his power in this
She's
sense.
just as power hungry as he is.
I agree, but she's
She
not.
doesn't care about Pavel. She wants his kingdom.
I don't know if she wants his kingdom. That
Why would
hasn't come up.
Why would she get married to him if she wasn't planning to, support her own nation?
Right.
Why
It's-
she was
Hillary
forced
Clinton
to
married
marry
Bill.
One second. Sure. Up until this point, we don't see her attempting to take over. We only see his, she's a sub character. She's not the important character in this
She's a
sense.
concubine.
Let's get set up and
No, she wasn't. Well,
Yeah.
we said she was a Babylonian
She was
princess who was super important in the government.
Right, but he has many wives. She might have been his main wife. But
Right.
She's also one of his wives.
the queen.
But she's the queen. No, she's the queen. She's not a concubine. It's very important. As Esther is going to be the queen and not a concubine, he's going to have lots of concubines. But the queen is the queen. It's a completely different position. Vashti Malka Vashti, it's a completely different place. All right, so I don't agree with that statement. She's very important. It's important to him. And as we explained before, the whole parak goes from that point on. But I'm saying now, Chazal are really equating her to Yosef, both with resisting a power-hungry, powerful other. In this case, it's Eshet Potiphar in this case, and
Next of kin.
and Achashverosh, someone in kin, right? But someone in a power position towards them, and they say no, maybe for different reasons. But they say no. But already, immediately you hear, oh, wow. This Vashti is somewhat like Yosef, even in the word. Again, the word, Vayima'en, Vatimaen, and when you read the Pasuk in Bereshit, it has a shalshelet. Shalshelet, you go, Vayima'en. There are like 5 of them in the Torah. In other words, they're very, 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 it's like, look at this word. Look at this. This is a powerful word, okay? Very, very few times you have this. I don't know exactly how many times they're on the Torah, but very, very rare. And you hear it. Yeah, as you heard it, as I said it right now. It's like, okay, stop right. I understood the first time. 3 times. But I'm just going to finish that. So when it says here, Batima'en, Hamalka Vashti, you go, okay, there's a connection here. And again, we're going to see Yosef connected here all over. But this is the first time we really feel it. Okay? And who are they paralleling? Yosef and Vashti. They are not the first people we're gonna parallel obviously Esther to Yosef, who's from his family, right? But Yosef, they're from the Yosef family, right? He's from Benjamin, Rachel, they're that family from Shaul, right? I mean, there are people that connect everyone. We'll connect them in the next parak. We'll connect them in an easier way to Rachel's children. He's pretty, right? Yosef Yefet Tor, Yefet Mareh. He's very handsome.
Oh, well,
Esther is very pretty.
Yeah, forget about Esther. There's the Midrash that says she was very ugly.
100%.
Vashti is very pretty. There you go.
It seems to be that it's Kitovat Marehi. Good. We have that Tovat Mareh. We have Vashti there also.
No,
The psukim are going to say Esther is very pretty. We're going to see that as they go on. But right now we connected, and then we hear already there is a positive vibe towards Vashti's act. In other words, she resists the use of power in the wrong way, in the way it shouldn't be used. But if we really look at Vashti, she's really, really doma. She's really likened more to Mordechai.
Vashti.
Who's the other person who doesn't do what the king commands in the whole Megillah? Mordechai doesn't bow down. What happens after Mordechai doesn't bow down? Listen to this. This is astounding.
That's the Haman. That's not
Yeah,
Wait, listen, guys. Just listen to the parallel. You have to start thinking in a general, more literary parallel here. Okay, now listen. Mordechai doesn't bow down. What does Haman say?
Kill all the Jews.
Not only him, I'm going to kill everyone. What does Memuchan say?
Everyone gets affected.
Not only the queen, all the women in the realm. And what happens? He sends out messengers. And what happens when Haman gets mad at Mordechai? He sends out messengers to all Medinot. When you look at it, you're like, oh my gosh. It's the exact same thing. Someone defies the person in charge, Haman, the king. The person in charge says, oh, I'm not only going to deal with you, I'm going to deal with everyone. And he sends this out to all the people. Vashti is almost the same story as Mordechai. That's what happened. I mean, just on a basic
Since they
story
don't kill her,
level.
they just kill her to teach them.
They don't kill Vashti. We just remember Vashti.
The common consensus
I hear,
that she is.
Except that it's not, it doesn't say it anywhere. But again, it's important also. It even makes sense from what we explained that they don't kill her. Because what is he going to get more out of just lowering her to the concubine level or some other place? But if he kills her, then you may raise the anger of the Babylonians. If not, she's still around. She's still there. She's just not in the position of power because she threatens all of us, right? As we explained last time. But when you listen to this Hakbalah, this parallel, suddenly you go, oh my gosh. If what Mordechai did was good, which we're going to have to see in chapter 3, if what he did was good, and we'll see Chazal are not so clear about his act, that's actually maybe the question in the Megillah. Why in the world did Mordechai not bow down to Haman? That may be the basic question of the Megillah. Well, we'll get there. We'll talk. I remember what he says about Perek Gimel. Okay, when we get there. But he's the one who says no, and then suddenly you say, wow, maybe what Vashti did is actually seen as a positive light. Look, it's the same thing as what happened to the Jews. Not only that, we may even go further and say, wow, there are two minority groups here who really get whacked. One is the Jews and one are
Babylonians.
The Nebuchadnezzar's
no,
Babylonians.
no. Who gets again the parallel? Look, use the parallel.
Vashti is Nebuchadnezzar's granddaughter.
Not only the Jew, Mordechai, all the Jews. Not only Vashti,
All women.
all
Women.
all women. In this case, all women. Really, in this parallel, the women and the Jews are the minority who are being closed their mouth. Right? They can't speak. Everyone has to speak in the language of his language. We don't want to hear you. We don't want to see you. You are under our boot. Now, it doesn't say kill them all like it did the Jews, but in the parallel we see here, in an interesting sense, women are also shut up. In the sense they're also being oppressed, which is fascinating to think as we go on that women are going to be the ones who move this whole plot along. Right? Haman's Zeresh is going to play an interesting part, and obviously Esther plays an interesting part in this. So I just in a second, okay, I want to just close this up before we move on to the next question we have on Perek Av and finish up Perek Aleph. I want to summarize, okay, and we use a tool here, fascinating tool, which is a literary tool of thinking of parallels both in storylines. That's what we just did now, right? Someone defying, having the person who's defied say, I'm not only going to deal with you, I'm going to deal with others, and listen to the words, okay? Listen to the words, how the Megillah connects them. Look at the bottom page. The bottom page, okay? Not the bottom of the first page, okay? So Memuchan, when he's talking to the king, and he says, because Yitzed Dvar Malkal Kol Nashim. What the queen did will go out to all the lahavzot. Look at this word, lahavzot ba'alehem b'nehem. Lahavzot, to embarrass, to humiliate their husbands. Lahavzot. Look to the pasuk under it. Sorry, go on again. Right, Yom hazeh tomar nasarot b'adik again. Ukedai bizayon v'katzef. It will be humiliating. And Haman, when he decides to not only kill Mordechai, what's the word? Vayivez be'enav lishloach yad b'Mordechai b'vado. The same word, vayivez. That's the term that's being used here. There's a connection in the words themselves to these two stories.
But
yeah.
If you want to compare Vashti to Mordechai, and Chazal say that what Mordechai did, not necessarily a good thing. And what Vashti did is also not necessarily a good thing.
I'm going on a different viewpoint. I'm correct. You're right. I mean, you could go the other way around. And you could have read, and then maybe both of them are doing something problematic. I hear, but if we see the Megillah and the Sofosh Davar at the end of the day, it seems like Mordechai did a good thing as the Megillah develops. Then we are forced to say almost that what Vashti did was also good. And so what did she do? It was so good. What she did was so good She
Esther to come into the picture.
no, she defies unlimited power. She defies using government incorrectly. She defies
The abuse of power.
the use of power
Abuse.
to get the abuse of power to get whatever you want.
But whose granddaughter is she?
She's not from the greatest family in that sense. And I understand she's not the greatest.
What did he do with his power?
100%.
Why are we
100%.
judging
Abuse
based
of
on
power is
religion?
not. I think Chazal may also be saying she also abused power. What she did with the girls and according to the Midrash. But it doesn't matter in that sense. In this sense, and this connection, in connecting her to Mordechai, the Megillah isn't judging her specifically. She's not saying Vashti is, I want to be her neighbor. But she's saying in this act that she did was a good act.
The action,
It was the action of this specific act.
not the motivation behind that.
This specific action of saying to the ruler, saying to the person in power, no, is an important thing to do. We're going to see the whole Megillah is going to go on this, okay? This is what Mordechai is actually going to do when he doesn't bow down to Haman. I'm giving a spoiler, okay? And we're going to go, why is this so important? But the first move of saying no to power is an important thing in the Megillah. It seemed positively, okay? Again, the tools we use are fascinating tools that I hope you would understand and use in the future. Now, I'll ask you guys an easy question. Who is Memuchan?
He's the
Come
advisor.
on.
Haman.
Supposedly.
Why did Chazal say Memuchan is Haman? Because who else goes from the individual to kill everyone? Who's the other person who says one person does something and now let's do it on everyone? Who's crazy enough to do something like that? Well, we know one person who does it straight out.
Well, maybe it's not
Haman
crazy,
does
maybe
it.
It's genius.
It could be genius,
Solve
but
the problem all at once.
I hear it could.
Happens once, I'll make sure it never happens.
It could be
again.
genius. It could be genius. But who works in that sense? I don't work that way. I don't know if you work that way. I know most people don't work that way. But we know someone who does. Haman does. And so when Chazal say Memuchan is Haman, this is probably why they say it. In other words, wow, it's the same dfus, it's the same thinking pattern that we're going to see in two prakim further. That's the same thinking power. I have one person, I have a problem with one person. Well, I'm not going to stop with one person. Let's raise it up. So again, you hear Chazal saying something. Memuchan is Haman. Okay, Memuchan is Haman. I don't know how they get to that. When you learn it again in depth, you're like, oh, okay, one second. Okay, this could be heard now. Now again, did they mean he was Haman? You have to hear it. Or this is the Haman thought process. This is the Haman persona. Memuchan is the one who's it's his idea how to get rid of Vashti.
I thought it was obvious. There was Haman. I thought it was said it outright.
That's what happens when you read the Josh and the Pshat together.
I see.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, it's fine. But when you read them carefully, it doesn't say. Haman's only mentioned Perek Gimel for the first time.
So it's only implied.
So now we understand why it's implied. As really, you'd learn the Megillah, and the Megillah would say Memuchan hu Haman. You go, what? Why in the world did they say that? Now I hope to present to you guys an option of understanding that a little more in depth. Yeah.
So you say both the Jews and the women were oppressed. Is this talking about like the intersection between like misogyny and anti-Semitism?
What's misogyny?
That's this part.
Being like anti-women.
Yeah.
I'm leaving it in the air at the moment. Okay, it may be the minorities. Okay, and we will get to that. We will get to this. That the Megillah will bring up minorities in a majority. How do you work in that atmosphere? What do you do? Okay, well, definitely a huge issue in the Megillah. We'll see.
But maybe it's more that he went to show power. That one person dishonors him, and he went to make a show of this.
Who?
Haman.
What with the Jews?
First with a woman. When one woman don't do what he had to do, so he dishonors everyone.
Okay.
This principle. This is a principle.
A principle. If someone of anyone does something, then it could be
for the group.
It could be. You're not saying a minority. It doesn't matter. It could be the majority. It could be anyone. If one person tries to.
One person of a group.
Could be. Well, we'll see. I think it will. I think it will prove itself as we go on.
Yeah, I can understand. I understood the part that Mordecai and Vashti were connected in some way due to the scenario, what was happening. However, I couldn't understand the part where Vashti was, somehow related with the story with Joseph. I'll tell you the reason why. Because in the first chapter, we were learning that Vashti was in partnership with the Ahasuerus.
Okay.
So her intention was never about. We never talk about she being some kind of a classy woman or with modesty or stuff like that. She was more into, okay, well, you are the king, but however, I came from that lineage, so I have
I'm a
my
powerful
power.
woman.
I have my way of being powerful woman.
Right.
So suddenly, considering what she does was with similar to Joseph, was not something that I couldn't really.
So
understand.
again, what she does is she says no to someone with power.
Mhm.
That's the connection we brought. She says, right, again, in this act of her, we're not going to say Vashti is the greatest person in the world, but in this act where she resists the abuse of power,
Right.
that's a great act.
That's the point. Because if as partner, say I'm a business partner, even
Right.
though I hold 30% of the business, I have my right.
That's right.
I can say no. So she has that right. But
Right.
Mordecai, he has no part with it. He's just another guy in the street.
Right.
And he being against a husband is something that to talk about.
Right, we will.
Right.
Oh, we will talk
And
about it.
that's the reason why I'm saying I couldn't understand, because she being a queen, for me, it's not surprising to hear that she says no to whatever the husband was demanding, or commanding her to do.
I understand, but remember what he was trying to do, in a sense, was to diminish her. Right? He was trying to break out her power. She says no. Really, she says no. She says no. I don't agree to the change of balance. Right? There's some kind. We're sort of partners, and he's trying to use his power to crush her.
Exactly. That's power again. But Joseph has nothing to do with power.
In the sense, she
was
is
his master's wife who was trying to abuse her power.
But he was a slave. But a slave revolting against a master is a big deal. Like you cannot let.
I'm saying her intentions. Her intentions
He
was
the most
to
powerful man in the world.
Right.
Doesn't matter if you're the third, the second, or fourth. Mind my dyslexic counting, but it doesn't matter who you are. Like Jeff Bezos, at one point, the second person wasn't even half as rich as him.
Okay.
That was the richest man in the world. You can't say no to that guy.
And Yosef, and I'm bringing it back to Yosef. Yosef couldn't, in the same sense. In other words, I'm not saying Yosef had power or not power. You're right. It's not exactly the same story.
Right.
But the powerful was trying to use his power to force the less powerful to do what they want. And that's the denial.
I agree with the kind of the midrash or the kind of
Connection.
let us connect things together. But the truth that I couldn't really connect the both, but I really connect with the Mordecai.
Okay, let's leave it. It's okay. So let's leave it. Let's go on so we can continue. Shmuel, but Shmuel,
So we've come to the conclusion that the defiance of abusive power in the case of Vashti foreshadows that of Mordecai.
Correct.
So to what Usher said, don't look at the action, look at the context. If Vashti, who has a certain percentage in the company, in the kingdom, she has leverage, she should be saying no because she has leverage. And we look at this as a righteous act, then Mordecai is even twice as righteous because he has no leverage, he has no share in the company, he's a
we're gonna talk
street sweeper, and he says no.
Okay.
Actually, he does.
Maybe more like Yosef in that sense.
Right.
Mordecai maybe more
Exactly.
connected to Yosef.
Yeah.
Okay, except that Mordecai is going to be
And
like
that
Yosef enough.
puts him at the top of the.
Well,
he gets to
I get you.
first place.
They're higher and higher.
First place.
So we'll see. Again, but just wait for Perek Gimel. We'll get there. We have a long way to go till we get to Perek Gimel. We have to go through all through Perek Bet. So yeah, let's just finish up Perek Aleph now. The last thing we have to do with Perek Aleph is ask the question that was left unsaid until now, and that I think I raised in the first shiur we had here, and that was this chapter is completely bereft of the Jews.
Doesn't talk about the Jews. You
This
talk about
chapter has nothing to do with that. It's fascinating, and I challenge you guys to bring me a parak in the story part of the Tanakh, the whole Tanakh, that doesn't deal with the Jews in one way or another. Directly with the Jews, talking about them, reacting to them, prophesizing about them. I taught this class in earlier today, not this class, but a class in the Megillah. This is what I teach this time of year with someone else, and they said Yonah. And I said Yonah's Jewish. It's true that he's going to Nineveh to talk to the non-Jews, but he's Jewish. Of course, it has to do with the Jew. So they couldn't find anyone else.
I have one.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, I also say that.
The whole book of Eov. The whole book of Eov is not in the storyline of the Tanakh.
Yeah,
It's out. It is ex-territory.
So
Okay.
Yoav is at the
No, actually, it's important. Eov, first of all, Chazal say, did it happen or not happen? It may not even happen. It was Avram's time. It was in the Shoftim's time. They have no idea where to put. That's exactly the point of Eov.
I've heard of Midrash that he was one of the advisor of the Pharaoh, and also he married Dina.
Yeah.
You can find a billion different stories because Eov. No, that's exactly the point. Eov has no context of time or place. We have no idea when Eov happened. Because the whole book of Eov is a philosophical treatise. It's the story of Eov is obviously serving the point of the theological discussion in the book, as opposed to the storyline of the Torah and the Navim and the Ketuvim, which is a story where the theological parts come out of the story. It's another way that in Eov there's a theological argument put into a story, and here there's a story that brings out theological points. Okay. So again, if you find one, you'll be the first people to tell me there's another one. This is the only chapter I know of that's so completely bereft of the Jews. Yeah.
So many things I heard about Eov was if it was fake or not, if he actually swore during with his friends or not, or if he was actually so bad that he did nothing but bad.
Ooh, okay, so
like,
but this is when we learn Eov.
What are you guys talking about?
So when we learn Eov,
this does sound like Eov is real to me.
I will just say before
Abraham,
from Abraham's time, and we have to have the Jews come into play, and from Abraham's time. Okay, I mean, yeah, you can't hold it before there are Jews. So
I'm saying though.
No, Abraham, you have to start with Abraham.
Right, but my point is simply that
there are chapters.
Are plenty of chapters in the Tanakh with no Jews.
From Abraham on, okay? No, I'm serious. Come on, you can't hold me to that. Go on, from Abraham on.
So listen, in the same way the Megillah, the first chapter is bereft of Jews, and then the Jews come into play. The Tanakh.
So there's the whole part.
Abraham comes.
Mordechai is Abraham.
Let's get connecting.
Interesting. First of all, that's literary thinking. That's interesting. It's an interesting point, but we're not going to go there right now. Now we're going to go to Chazal. Okay, now we're going to go to Chazal. Now, Be'etzem, Chazal are reading this story, and they say, where in the world are the Jews? This is what they ask. Really, they read this paragraph just like we do, and they're like, huh?
Where are we?
And we learned, right? We learned in the Mishnah in the first class, that there's a shitot that you don't even have to read the first paragraph. There are 3 shitot that you don't have to read the first, right? Rabbi Yehuda says you could start, if you want to be Yotzei Yedei Chovah, you could start from the second chapter.
If it doesn't include us, it's not worth our while.
All these shitot, whatever it is.
Is that
no.
because the Jews are not mentioned?
One second. It seems to be that it's not so important for the storyline. It's not critical. That's what they say, right? What critical. I agree, and that's what we do with Sofo Shadavar. Rabbi Meir also said you have to read it all, right? But Rabbi Yehuda said you could start from the second chapter, and let's say Yedei Chovah. He doesn't say you should start from. You have to understand. He doesn't say you should start from the second chapter because you can. If you did, you're Yotze. And if you Rabbi Yossi says the third chapter, or Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai the 6th chapter, whatever it is, all 3 of them seem to think that the first chapter is not essential to reading of the thing, and you could understand why. Now you could understand why. It's a fascinating story of politics in Persia, and wow, amazing, great, amazing story. Whoa, well, why? And what do Chazal say? So Chazal do bring in, and they have a story that is around here. So let's take a look here.
With the chapter with Lot and his daughters, no mentions of the Jews.
Avram.
It's after Avram.
In the thing. Okay, not bad. What's the problem there?
There's no problem.
Well, first the problem is Lot is Avram's nephew. And that's his whole, the whole yichus. We're not talking about Lot because we care about Lot.
We have to consider Ruth.
What?
You have to consider root, where she comes from.
No,
But Ruth's Jewish. I mean, Ruth becomes Jewish, and
Yeah.
the whole story is
But
about
it's ordered
Jewish.
to know the root.
No, but
right?
there's nothing about Ruth and her life, previous life in Moab. Right? We don't have Ruth. Where was Ruth before Ruth? There's no such thing.
Roots and roots.
It's a good one. It's a good one. It's good. It's good. No, but there you're reading it. You understand this is Lot, who's Avram's nephew, having these two children who are going to be part of the Jewish story of Moab and Ammon.
They're not Jewish.
Chapter makes perfect sense.
Of course, it makes sense, but there's nothing in it that has anything to do in that
I
sense. of the
suggest
Jews.
we give Shua some time off to
Yes,
get
okay,
cracking
yeah.
and find
Good,
something.
Yoshua. By Tuesday, 2 days. By Tuesday, you bring me a report of all the chapters.
I can think of some more right now.
Good, good. Okay, well, so now, guys, let's see. Megillah 12a. Everyone, second page. We're going to read a large part of the Megillah. Okay. So this is where the Jews are. Okay, this is how the connection is to our Masoret and the Jews. Let's see the Megillah here on Daf Yud Bet brings Be'etzem. They bring three different connections to our Perek. All of them obviously are drush. Okay, we're gonna have to learn what they are trying to tell us here. Okay, the students of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai asked him, for what reason were the enemies of the Jewish people? And euphemism, right? That's what he said. For the Jewish people themselves. In other words, it says when the enemies of the Jewish people, they mean the Jewish people. For what were the Jewish people in that generation deserving of annihilation? Right? What did they do? We have this horrible gzerah. I mean, the whole Tanakh. It tells us they were killing and they were doing avodah zarah and they were lying and they were cheating and that's why this is going to happen. That's how the Tanakh works. You do bad, you get a good. You do bad, this is what's going to happen. Here, out of nowhere.
You know why? Because we went to a party and Mordechai told us not to.
Good.
Mordechai. The story, don't ask and you can't get in trouble.
Shua has the whole Megillah down pat.
It's a bit shallow.
Okay.
I mean, they went to that party. Why?
Well, let's take a look.
I have a drink or two.
Sorry, no.
One second, guys.
Because they were integrated already.
Well,
Yalla.
Yes, here we have a yalla. Okay. He, Rabbi Shimon, said to them, say the answer to your question yourselves. He said, and what's your, he understood that they didn't ask him without an answer. They have an answer. They said to him, is because they partook in the feast of that wicked one, Achashverosh. They partook there. Now he adds here in this perush of forbidden foods. It does not say that. It does not say that in the pshat. The pshat is that they ishtatfu b'sudato shel Torah Sham. They were there at the feast. So then Rabbi Shimon asked them, if so, those in Shushan should have been killed. But what about the rest of the world? So why is everyone else chayav? What happened? Okay, they said to him, okay, so you tell us. So you tell us the answer. And he said to them, it is because they prostrated before the idol that Nebuchadnezzar had made, as is recorded in the entire world, bowed down to it, except Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, which is referencing a story in Daniel. Okay?
So
in other words, this is years beforehand. The Jews prostrated themselves to the pesel, the statue of Achashverosh. That's why they were chayavim. That's what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says. Okay, wow. They said to him, if that's true, why was a miracle performed in their behalf? Is there favoritism by God? So if that's true, that they had to die, so why were they saved? Then we flip the whole thing. At first we asked, why did they have the gzera? Why did they decree to kill them? Now we understand why they should be killed. So why were they saved? Right? So he said to them, they did not really worship the idol, but pretended to do so. So only for appearance, acting as if they were carrying out the king's command to bow before the idol. So too, the Holy One blessed him. He didn't really destroy them or act angry with them. He just did it appearance. He just merely pretended to desire to destroy them.
So the Jews went to the party, but they didn't eat.
This is a great experience. The Rabbi Shimon, they asked again, just to understand the pshat. They asked Rabbi Shimon, they said, okay, well, why don't they just try? He said, because when they bowed down, they didn't really mean it.
So when they just went to them instead, they didn't really eat.
No, that's not what he said. Oh, and therefore Hashem decreed on them that they'll all get killed, but he didn't really mean it.
So he was essentially.
Haman decreed that they all get killed, but he didn't really mean it.
So Rabbi Weinstein.
Wait, too many people.
So the Jews praying to the king that they were bowing down to the idol made it seem like the idol, but bowing down to the idol, but really they weren't. So Hashem decided that in return he's gonna prank on them, that he's gonna kill them.
Exactly, that's what it is. I'm gonna kill them, but not really.
Right.
Yeah.
But that
It's like,
doesn't matter because there's
Just so you know, I was planning
there's a
on all.
mitzvah to sanctify God's name, and doing the opposite of so
You have to die.
I think
is
that's a little
also
bit
high
Yeah, I think so, right?
So even if they say they mean it, merely doing the act for the sake of representation itself is wrong.
Good. So you're saying there's a halachic question here. There's a halachic question that they really should have been killed, even if they doing it not really. You had to do it anyway. Halachic
A question. If you could hear me, can the Rav hear me?
Yep.
So I don't understand the answer. If we say that only some ate, but then the question is why was it on all of them? But obviously only some bowed.
Right. Well, and that only some bowed. So why was it?
So why was it on everybody? It doesn't answer the question. No.
It may have been they all bowed down. Who said only some of them bowed down?
No, we said on all of the whole nation. If only some ate, why would they all be punished?
We asked the question: if only some, why were they all punished? Or maybe they all bowed down. That's possible.
No, but all being the whole nation.
Yeah, the whole nation bowed down.
Okay.
I mean, that could be. You're right to follow it. Otherwise, they should have asked him the same thing. If only some bowed down, why were they all killed? It seems like that would be the thing. Okay. So I'm gonna before I go into this. Yeah.
But even if only few will bow down, but if we stay shake and do anything and don't distance us from them, we can get also a punishment because we don't do anything. This was a couple
Keeping
of stories.
silent is also bad.
Many stories in the Tanakh are about this. That only very few make bad things, and the other don't do something and get also punished with them together.
All right, so Malti's sort of answering your question here, Ariel, that possibly, but that would be the same thing about the Suda. Right, about the meal, the feast. If the feast was bad and only some of them did, they could have answered that same question. He doesn't answer what you said. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai asked the question. He says, "Well, why were they all killed if only some of them ate?" They don't ask because they were quiet. They don't say that. They don't answer that. But it could be.
Malti's a champion.
That's right. That's what he's saying. That's right. But we'll Bezrat Hashem, we'll get to all these things later. Okay. That was the first connection. Okay. Now I remind you guys, why did we bring this, Bichlal? Why did we bring this this story? Why am I bringing this story? It's because Chazal had the same question. It was, what in the world? Where were the Jews? And this is an answer. They were there at this Suda. They were there. Okay, it doesn't seem to be there, but they were there, eating in the feast. What's so hard about eating the feast? Well, here they said they were eating non-kosher food,
which is a lie, because it was kosher food. If you read it.
Well, I don't know if it was a lie or an unlie, but I think what you're saying is that let's talk to ish veish, right? Everyone.
It wasn't a lie. It's not true.
Okay, that's good. It wasn't a lie, it's just true. The Shua says, I think, from the plus, right? It says that everyone could accept what they want. And I'm noté like Shua. I think I agree. I don't think the problem here was the kashrut of the food. We'll see in a second what the problem was. And near the next two, I think you guys are hinting already. The next
kosher meal option.
Yes, exactly.
Vegan,
lactose, exactly right. That's right. But let's look at the next two. Gluten free, everything was there. Okay, guys, look at the next thing. The next two sources. The verse states, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his majestic Tiferet greatness. Rabbi Yoshua Bar Chanina says, this teaches that Achashverosh wore the priestly vestments. Proof for this assertion may be adduced from the fact the same terms are written with regard to the priestly vestments. As is written here, the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his majestic greatness, as written there, with regard to the priestly garments for the glory and for majesty. So he uses the same words, Yekar and Tiferet. You hear it. The words are actually, when you hear these things, you're like, it reminds us of, we're going to read it this week in Tzavet, about the priestly garments. Okay, in this Shabbat. Listen carefully when you read the Torah of the Shabbat, you'll hear it. So again, this isn't right, this isn't the Jews per se, but it's definitely Jewish, right? The king came dressed in Kohen Gadol things. This is a story of the Jews, right? Why is he doing? What's he doing? We'll have to ask. There's another Gemara that's a huge Gemara I didn't bring. We'll talk about it in a second. The other one is, the first says, and they gave them drinks in vessels of gold, and vessels being diverse, shonim from one another. The Gemara asks, why does the verse use the term shonim to express that they are different? We mentioned this. It should have said the more proper term, mishunim. Rava said, a divine voice issued forth and said to them, the early ones, referring to Belshazzar and his people, were destroyed because they used these vessels, the vessels of the temple. And yet you use them again. Shonim. Shonim is like doing again. Not different as shoneh, like Mishnah is to repeat something. And Mishnah was to repeat the halacha. So here, shonim, kelim shonim, is the second time you've taken out these kelim. We talked about Belshazzar, who took out the kelim and was punished.
But it also means to change.
Lishtanot would be to change, but correct. Okay,
Which means
so we have three
perhaps
sources
that
here.
they didn't.
What?
Which perhaps means that they didn't do it.
That they
You
didn't do
translate
it.
it as change.
There are many ways to translate it, for sure. And the Chazal here they don't have to do these drashot. These drashot are not forced upon them from the they make sense. They have some, you can understand what Chazal are saying, but it's obviously not necessary in the text. The text makes sense without it. Here they're bringing in Jewish elements into the story, right? Three different elements that they partook in the food, that Achashverosh was wearing the priestly garments, and that they were drinking from the vessels of the temple. A fourth one is that Achashverosh did a whole cheshbon of a whole calculation of when he could bring out the vessels or not, he could bring them out or not at 70 years have passed, and that he was very focused on the Jews. Okay, I'm just saying that one on the side. What do we do with all this? We managed to knock Hirsch out here, right? So what are we doing here, right? All these, I'm bringing this to just bring in how Chazal, I think really their basic question was, where are the Jews? Okay, this is really their basic question. There are other hints, but they're thinking, why is Perek Aleph important to me? And they bring this story of a party where the Beit HaMikdash is seen in its disgrace. Really in its disgrace. Beit HaMikdash in its disgrace. The kelim are being used for drinking. The priestly garments are on this big, not very impressive guy, who is not Jewish.
I beg to pardon. I think he's very impressive.
Okay, I'm sorry. A big, impressive, not someone who should be wearing the Kohanim garment. And there are Jews there. There are Jews there eating. We talked about this in the Shira when we get at this there, if you guys remember, when we connected. They didn't know he's going to bring it out. But they're there. And they are being part of this statement, which this statement is, I don't really think so highly about the Jews. I don't think so highly about the Jews. I don't think so highly about their chances of ever returning to Eretz Yisrael. I don't think so highly about their aspirations, and I am pretty sure that we've reached the end. We've reached the end of the line here. That the Jews aren't going back to Eretz Yisrael and probably are going to disappear. Did he really wear them? Did he really this? I don't know. But when Chazal are saying the Jews, I think you said this, are slowly but surely integrating into the Persian society and giving up on their dream. They are disappearing into, and so when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, no, it's not that they ate at this meal, it's that they bow down to the idol. Right? That's what he said. It's not this, it's that. Okay, stop this and it's that. What's that? That, I think what he's saying, that was the very beginning. That was the very beginning.
Submit, you give in.
Exactly. You're submitting yourself to the religious, in one way. And then when Nebuchadnezzar wanted them to bow down to his idol there, it probably wasn't religious. It was a show of monarchy. It was a pestle of him, right? That's not so often what happens. That the king makes his own likeness and he expects you to bow down to that. That we haven't actually, I don't believe we see anywhere else in the Tanakh that the king made his own
You're
likeness.
supposed to bow down to the king anyways. That's not a Avodah Zarah.
Exactly right. So in
Therefore,
that
why would the
sense,
statue be?
it may not have been there. You could have even asked the question on Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. Why didn't they bow down? In other words, maybe it was okay to bow down to that pesel. Maybe that pesel wasn't really an idol. It was a representation of Nebuchadnezzar. Now we have to remember, in the olden days, kings and gods, they were interconnected. Let's put it that way.
Nebuchadnezzar had gone to somewhere he knows is a religious temple, and he had gone ahead and destroyed it. That in itself is a statement all by itself, saying that he thinks himself better than God.
It could be Nebuchadnezzar says
And he then goes to the people of this religion and tells them, "You bow down to me now." How can that be anything else other than idol worship?
Okay, well, you just gave a present. He destroyed many things. Nebuchadnezzar. You have to remember. Don't make the Jewish story the only story. He went throughout the world destroying all kinds of things. Many nations. He conquered many nations. Destroyed many. I don't think he had a personal vendetta against Hashem in that sense. He was destroying as much as he could destroy. He did this to all the nations.
As a Jew, they should see that anyways, as they destroyed their holy temple.
I hear, and that's the way we present it, right? We don't care what he did in Lebanon or Syria or Turkey. We don't care what he did there. We care what he did to us. I agree.
He went to our temple, then turned to us and said, "You bow down to me."
So again, I think it's very mixed, the religious and the national version of this. We're going to see this throughout, and it's very mixed. And Chazal mixed it up also. We're going to see. I keep on saying we're going to see. I'm so sorry. Like it's just we'll see as we go on in the Megillah and see it. But we're beginning because you're about to just 1 second, okay? And in this pesel, I think what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is really saying the same thing as his students. As his students said, their problem was their submission to Persia, their submission culturally, their submission aspiration-wise. They're giving up. They're saying it's over. And as we know, it says in Ezra, right, that Achashverosh was the king who said no more building Beit HaMikdash. After Koresh said no, Achashverosh is the one who continues. Koresh said yes and then no. Daryavish is going to say yes. The only king who does not build Beit HaMikdash is Achashverosh. By the way, it's the only mention we said. It's the only mention of Achashverosh in the whole Tanakh. Is in that thing. In his day, it was written Sitna, right? They said they wrote about not building the temple. And this is Achashverosh who doesn't allow. He's saying, you guys are over as a nation. Wow.
Maybe we can put it into end in this time.
What?
When we have time after this,
Okay,
then
good,
a
after,
little
we'll
bit
go
too much branch.
Okay, okay. So this is what's happening, and this is the Bikurim. And I think this is the beauty of this statement. I hope. Chazal saw the Jews aren't here in the parak at all. They're not here. And where were they? Who were they? Were they the leader? Why would they be at this party? Were they the leaders of the nations? Were they in Shushan Abirah? Those are the people he invites, right? There's two parties, the 180 days and the 7 days. Why would they be at this party? Why should they be there? They're not in charge.
You have mentioned.
They're not really in charge of any country.
We said that from the lowest to the highest in Shushan, perhaps.
Habirah, Shushan Habirah. Remember, we differentiate between Shushan and Habirah, and do we know if there are any Jews in Shushan Habirah?
Maybe
Of course
this is
there are.
the intention,
Mordechai lives there.
why this chapter is without mentioned a Jew, because they went to show that nobody cares in this time about Jews. In the end, we are the most important.
No, at this point, you're saying there's no reason to bring them because they're really not necessary.
Because to show that this was a time when the story starts, the story starts in a time when Jews was not important, and the story ends with the Jews are the most important.
Also interesting. So you're saying it's like a beginning and an end. It's starting from the lowest of the low to the highest of the high. Yeah.
I can think of two reasons why they wouldn't be mentioned at this part. One of them is when you don't want to remember something so bad, you block it out.
Okay.
So it's possible the Jews were doing something that were quite bad at that time, and it wasn't to be mentioned.
You don't want to say something so horrible about the Jewish people, even though Tanakh has lots of horrible things
exactly.
about the Jewish people.
It's a very
The
transparent
other
book.
thing is a bit more obscure, is where perhaps at the time the Jews were so integrated with those of the locals that
That is the mention.
you go around saying, "Where are my Jews?" That you look no different to the stranger beside you.
I like that. I think that's what I was thinking. Exactly.
So
what
they
you said now.
purposely omit so that we, the reader, asks.
Exactly. In the sense, there's another literary tool here.
Interact.
Again,
But
this is
Haman
when
says
we
later
ask
that's
the-
not true.
What?
Haman says later that's not true. There's a people among you who's different.
For sure, they're among them, but they're not here at the party. There are people among them. The question is why they're erased from the mention. Again, this question is on different levels. It's a question we're asking as readers of Tanakh. We're asking this question, like, where are they? What is going on here? And then Chazal say they were there. Well, if they were there, then why doesn't it say they were there? We can't win this game right now. Then you have to ask the question. Well, if they were there, then why doesn't it say they were there?
It does.
Right? You have to put them together.
When it says that everyone was there, it includes the Jews.
Includes the Jews.
Without specific mention.
So again, it could be in that sense in Shuan, but again, as readers, we're it's weird for us. It's weird for us. They're not there. I mean, they're not there, and they really aren't there. And it would make perfect sense to say they're really not there. But I think this is the game that the Chazal and the Psukim. This is what they're doing. They're putting them together in exactly this thing. They want you to ask, where are they? They want to answer where they are, and they want to say the Jews are so unremarkable, are so not worthy, as Malti was saying here, that they're not even mentioned. They're there, but they're so submitted. They're so submissive. They're so not Jewish that we're not going to mention them as Jews. They are really, and here I'll say, they are powerless. This is the most important statement I'm going to say here. They are powerless. They're powerless religiously. They're powerless nationalistically.
Is this
They
where
are nothing, these Jews. They're nothing.
is this where you compare them to before, where you're saying it's important to say no to power? Out of the most powerlessness, they shouldn't have gone to the party. They should have said no to the king.
Very good. That's the first kind of statement. Mordechai, they according to the Midrash, Shuaf, right? What happens? They go to Mordechai and they ask him, "Should we go to the party?" And Mordechai says, "No."
Which is why I said if they didn't ask, they wouldn't have been punished.
I know, but I'm going to say it the other way. I'm going to say there is again the dissent against the king. The king orders you to come. The Jews don't know. What do we do? And they choose wrongly. They choose to submit to power. Again, forget the not kosher food. To submit to the power, as Chazal puts it, the power which says you are nothing. To humiliate them. Now, what did they say? Obviously, they say, if we don't come, we'll be in trouble. If we don't come, why rile up the goyim? Why rile up the rule? Come on, let's submit. Let us just do what has to be done. We'll go. We'll leave. We'll say hello. We'll write our name there. We're there. Don't get them mad. Don't get them upset. We're coming.
Wow, this kind of shows that if Vashti would have come, she would have also been in a way desecrated to herself.
For sure.
Because,
That's why she doesn't come.
But the Jews are the ones who said yes. They're the ones who came.
They are the losers in this. This is what Chazal are saying. They are the losers. That is why they're mitchayev klaya. That's why they have to be destroyed, because they're losing their self, their respect, their uniqueness. Why?
This is one of those phrases,
where are you?
I may not have much, but I have my dignity.
Yeah,
there
that's
we
very
go.
true. That's true. Yeah. So we mentioned that Achashverosh was wearing the priestly garments and using the Jewish cups, right? And at the same time, we say that Vashti was summoned by Achashverosh to come naked. We can say that the Jews, because they came to the party, they were in a sense themselves naked of their own priestly blessing, of their own priestly garments and their own cups. He took our garments and we came naked.
Yafeh meod. Hey, Ariel, do you hear what Shmuel said here? It was a nice thing.
I heard it and I love it.
Yeah, it's very nice, very interesting. You guys hear what Shmuel said there? You guys hear at the end there?
I may have missed that.
He said a beautiful thing. He said, just like Achashverosh tried to bring Vashti without clothing, he took the Jewish clothing. He took their clothes. He's wearing their garments. In a sense, he's bringing them naked to the thing, and they came. They did not come. They came. And that's how, in this sense, Chazal are critiquing them very.
Vashti above.
Exactly. And that Vashti stood on hers. They didn't. This is the situation we're talking about right now. So I'm gonna sum up now what we've seen in these 3 chapters. We're done with Perek Aleph. Okay, it's 3 chapters, three meetings is enough for Perek Aleph. We saw the political movement of the story. We saw I hope to have convinced you the meaning, what really happened there in a sense, to understand how things are connected to one another, and why Memuchan is so ingenious in his statement, why the king had to bring all his advisors, and why Vashti doesn't want to come, and why the king made the party, and it all turned into one story. Then what we did the previous 2 lessons. What we did today is we sort of went in another level. We went to the it's not the analytical, I would say, it's more the midrashic level of listening to the text, listening to Chazal, listening to how they deepen the story here. Again, mostly on a Jewish vibe, a Jewish perspective. What is the Megillah saying to us here? Both on Vashti's side of saying there is giving it a value judgment to what she did, and on the Jewish side, also a value judgment of what they did, but the other value. In other words, seeing this as a problem, what they did, as opposed to what Vashti does. Be'ezrat Hashem, Yom Shlishi, on Tuesday, we will begin Perek Bet.
I'll have a list for you without Jews.
Good, I will have a list of a prakim without Jews. She was going to, if not, you don't come in.
I'll do a courtesy and leave out Bill.
No, that I said already. I talked about Bilam, and that was clearly not, because it's all about the Jews.
Which is why I
We ended 7 minutes early.
And we're ending 5 minutes early from what I see. 10 minutes early?
7.
Yep, we're finishing 7 minutes early. I usually go over. I'm giving you guys back the minutes. I just don't want to, we could start Perek Bet now, but it's a bit. We'll start Perek Bet, Be'ezrat Hashem, on Tuesday. You're going to read it yourselves, and we will delve into Mordechai and Esther, the king's lottery, queen lottery, a lot of stuff we're gonna have to do. No.
I wanted to ask you, this is exactly the moment I might for the time we have